Alright, so I'm out of eggs, but I've still got a bunch of the filling that I made for the ravioli yesterday. Good news is, while I was looking up various recipes for pasta and things like that, I discovered what is called a white pasta, which is simply double A flour and a little bit of water. So, I'm going to give this a shot, see what happens, and hopefully make another batch of ravioli today. Let's get into it. Alright, so this white dough actually worked out really nice. I was very, very happy with the texture of it when I made it, and since it was so simple, I decided to do a green variation as well because I also had some of the parsley oil, and again, didn't really want it to go to waste. I also wanted to examine what happens to the dough when I add an oil to it, for example. So I take a basic white dough that I know, okay, this is going to feel like this with this ratio. I'm going to do the same thing with this. And I will admit, it's been in there for, I'd say, about an hour, almost. Yeah, 45 minutes. Typical resting time, but it is a little bit stickier than I would imagine, but I'm really happy with the consistency, so I will definitely be using this recipe again. Now, question is, what am I going to do with the green dough and the white dough and this ravioli filling? Honestly, I have no fucking idea, but I got my rolling pins out, and yeah, let's, I don't know, play with a couple of different ideas and see what happens. So I can tell you right now, I am really happy with the simplicity and texture of this white dough. I really wish the rest of this stuff had turned out like this. Makes a great pasta, doesn't have as much body, it seems, as something with the egg yolk, but that also seemed to be the problem with why my dough was falling apart. Anyways, I made little raviolis where I kind of spun the patterns around, and I did stripy ones. Stripy ones did a little bit better as far as showing off the contrast of the two colors, because unfortunately for me, there's not a whole lot of contrast between the white and the green. The green was not as bright as it could have been, and I'm trying to look into other options in terms of natural food coloring. I'm not gonna put any chemical shit into my food. Other people want to do that to make their shit pop, whatever, fine. There've got to be natural alternatives. There've got to be ways of me manufacturing color and doing a better job. And that's part of the reason why, when I'm at home especially, I like to experiment. I'm not working in a place right now that makes fresh pasta. I am definitely off my game. And as I've been doing it the past 2 days, I've actually found that I really, really miss doing this. I enjoy the process. I enjoy the challenge of the different texture and things like that. And yeah, it's a meditative process. It's also something that, especially when I'm cooking at home, I'm not super freaked out about taking it seriously. I'm not worried about my food cost. I'm not worried about getting a review or anything like that. I'm playing around with food and seeing what works and expanding my skills and having fun. This is why I started cooking in the first place, was, I wonder if I can do that. I wonder if I did this with this with this. Let me play. And I lost track of that, unfortunately, for a while. I lost my sensibilities when it comes to playing. So, that's one of the reasons I have to kind of remind myself, it's just food. Don't take it seriously. So, like I said, I'm not really sure what exactly I'm gonna do, because again, I did the stripes and I did the little twisty patterns. So, trying to think of what and how I should do these, because it's also one of those things too where I would think, oh, well, I'd marble it, and if it was a white and a red or something like that, or a black and something that would actually have some contrast, possibly, but I don't know. I don't really see these two things having that much contrast. Let's see what happens if I just do this. Okay, well here, start off like this, and then again, this is the playtime aspect of it. Whether or not this will actually pan out, we'll see. But, this is why when I tell people, cook like you fuck. And it's food. Don't take it too seriously. If you're having fun with it, the end result will definitely pan out, and you'll be able to feel it. And yeah, the pasta that I've made the past 2 days certainly has not turned out the way that I had it envisioned in my head, but I'm also pretty damn happy with the results. I've learned a lot about it, so I can't consider it to be necessarily a failure. So, flatten this out a little bit. Yeah, but see, watch this though, because this is still, even if I cut it the center right down like this. Well, let's see what the fuck is going to happen when I take this like this. Now, in the video, you see me using two different rolling pins. You got this big badass and this little teeny tiny dinky dowel rod. And you would think, oh, if I've got to do it super thin, I'm going to be wanting to use the heavier duty one. That's actually not the case, because with this one, I feel like I've got a lot more control over what I'm actually doing. That one, as much as I love it, it's a bit of a beast, and yeah, I feel like with this, I get just a lot more control. And this is kind of a weird little interesting pattern. Line this up. Now, another thing you may notice in the videos, I don't have one of those fancy ravioli cutters or whatever. I go through, chop, 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 make sure I get all the ear bubbles out, and then I literally go and do that. And I'll probably show you all that in a minute here, but it's in time lapse, and so it's a little bit hard to see the technique that I'm using. But if I'm filming in time lapse, it also lets me listen to music, which that's one of the things that I do when I'm at home cooking is jamming out, having fun. And again, with the texture, starting to feel the dough's getting a little bit wet, and I don't want to add too much extra flour, just barely enough so that the rolling pin doesn't stick to this thing. And I'm literally just trying to stretch this out. And again, I feel like I got more sensitivity and more control using a smaller rolling pin. But you notice how the elasticity of the dough is automatically wanting to pull itself back, and that's one of the reasons why you just gotta, pay attention and kind of listen to the food and work with it. Especially when you're cooking at home, as long as you're having a good time in the process, man, it's a home-cooked meal. Don't take it too seriously. I mean, you always want to be working to improve your skills on anything, but I'm going to tell you one thing that, if the minute you start taking things seriously, the fun aspect is removed. And I know, at least for myself, if I'm not having fun with it, I suck at it. As long as I'm having fun with it and I'm not taking it seriously, the end product actually turns out significantly better. So okay, this is kind of cool because this does have a little bit of the marbled effect, which is kind of what I was going for. So, but again, you notice the dough got it nice and thin, texture that I want, or the thickness that I wanted for the ravioli. Now let's just stretch back out and give that a little, because that one little extra stretching might be the difference between an extra ravioli or ravioli that's just like a little bit too thick to the tongue. Now, I haven't actually cooked this pasta yet, so I'm interested to see the difference in texture between this and the stuff that I did yesterday. Shit, see, I just fucked that up. Say, but it's not the end of the world, And I'll just literally take that, flip it, put it in the scratch, and give this a once over again. Try to give that a little bit more girth or width so that I can fit all that nice filling in there. Like I said, I just like the smaller rolling pin just a little bit better. It's counterintuitive, you would think, but using them both side by side, it's pretty quick. So, anyways, got some of the filling. And then I literally just, kind of eyeball it out. And it's a nice little balance. You don't want, unfortunately, an example of like it is this with a bunch of extra trim on it, but at the same time, you don't want to stretch the dough so thin that you end up tearing the ravioli, especially when you're doing something like this where I'm doing several of them at a time and then I'm folding it over. So, nice little balls right there kind of in the center. And I want to give them a nice little finger width of space because again, you're going to have to crimp them to make sure that all that deliciousness stays in. And yeah, I think I can fit one more right there. A little tiny one at least. Actually, Alright, The other thing too is, if you've noticed in time-lapse video, always kind of like with rolling a joint, man, you want to make sure you get that edge nice and wet, and this way it'll help it stick even once you've cracked it. Now this is actually the hardest part to do in these things, because you got to roll all this over it. But again, it's one of those things where experience and finesse. So get that one, kind of crump it a little bit with the finger, make sure that one. And as I'm doing this, it's kind of hard to see, but I'm pushing in with my thumb as I'm folding down. I'm also trying to get rid of this little air pocket right here. And I'm trying to do this at the same time with all of these guys. I'll also explaining it to you. So get that air out of there, put with my finger. And yeah, like so. Get the air out, get the air out. Pull that over, stick that in just a little bit. And then kind of go back through and press down with your fingers. That way you know, nice little cut. And then boom. And again, take a fork and just, that one I went a little bit too deep trying to show you guys. But yeah, you're literally just pressing down and then sliding it right off of your thumb. And right there, there. Boom, boom. And again, just kind of make sure that once they go into the boiling water, that they're not just going to separate. And you do the same thing with, you know, if you're doing any kind of like wontons or anything. I mean, in fact, I kind of want to look at my ratio between this white dough recipe and my wonton recipe, because that is at the same time, just like this, literally water and flour, and I think like a tablespoon of salt maybe. But it's dirt basic and it's amazing. You know, take that, put in some good filling, and you know, cook it the right way, sear off the bottom of it, get a nice little gold to it. Fucking amazing how delicious something so simple like that could be. So yeah, pretty simple little ravioli right there. And again, this is literally just filling that I've had from yesterday's little experiment. Just some roast chicken thighs, some garlic, a little bit of light wine to deglaze. I pureed the shit out of it after it was fully cooked. And I also threw in some Parmesan and some fresh herbs. I forgot about that. But yeah, the white pasta dough, super simple recipe. It's 200 grams of double O flour and how many? 86 grams or 3 ounces of water. Mix it together, and like I said, you got the other recipe for the what is it, the parsley oil stuff that I've still got back here, and I gotta figure out something to do with this, and also something to do with this. Maybe I'll try to figure out if I can do some, like, maybe I'll do some oregano or something. Who knows? We'll see. Love you guys.